Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited for my conversation today with Nerissa Zhang. She is the CEO of the Bright app. She is a fierce female founder and has created many businesses from an early age, from daycare to catering. I'm excited to dive into that. She is a former elite trainer in San Francisco and a top earner at her gym, who runs two of the biggest facilities in San Francisco for Olympic weight training. This woman is all about fitness. I'm excited to tell you more about her amazing app. But before we get there, Nerissa, let's go back, take us back. I know you were from the Bay Area originally, and you spent, it looks like, most of your life in the Bay Area. Talk to us about some of the early education choices and career choices you made.
Hello, Felina. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Early career choices is a good one. I like to say that I've always been an entrepreneur because I was a Girl Scout. At a very early age, I always started businesses, from selling cookies to bracelets to artwork and pottery. And so I think being a Girl Scout helped shape and being a part of Camp CEO, which is something the Girl Scouts do every year in the Bay Area to introduce them to CEO women. That shaped my career choices early on. And when I was 18, I got my real estate license in the state of California, in the city of San Francisco. And I just always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so we got to touch on the daycare and catering stops in your entrepreneurial career too.
Awesome. So I started daycare to help my neighborhood children get help with busy parents. So these parents were all busy and couldn't quite find quality childcare. And because I was in college and I had days where I could help these children, I went and got my daycare license to watch their children. Some of these people were police officers to DAs, and a lot of like public service workers.
That's awesome. Okay. And you went to school at San Francisco State. What did you major in?
Business admin.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
Me too. Yeah. It serves us well, right?
Nice.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about, I mean, you've been at the forefront of technology and fitness for quite some time. Talk about some of those early days in technology.
My early days in technology is still quite new, to be completely honest. I've been in fitness training for over a decade. And what I realized working in San Francisco, I'm working in the heart of Silicon Valley, that a lot of technology disrupt the way we live and the way we work, but it doesn't disrupt it for the trainers. And so trainers tend to work very old school, from pen and paper, still outdated software systems, and they didn't have tools that enable them to be free of the big box gym. And so my technology came much later, when I realized that if technology can help us get taxis and can help us order us food, why can't it help trainers do their job and work from home?
Got it. Awesome. Okay. So I'm looking at your background here. It looks like you started off with an app back in 2016. Is that right?
Yes. So the Bell app was an app to enable you to order food on your way to the restaurant. Similar to what people are doing now because of COVID, I was definitely...
You were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I was a contrarian, right? So I was way ahead. And obviously at that time, VCs didn't think that was a good idea. It would be different now, but it wasn't a good idea then.
Awesome. Yeah, understand. And I just want to kind of pause and understand what really drew you into the fitness industry and weightlifting and Olympic training and all of that amazing work that you've done.
Great question. So I was a caterer at the time. I had my own business in San Francisco where I would go to people's houses, charge by the hour, do bartending, and cook food. At the time, I was vegan and vegetarian, and I just put on a lot of weight that I didn't like. And so I started going to the gym myself. I realized I wasn't getting the results I wanted. And so I bit the bullet and paid for a trainer, which I'm like, oh, this is so expensive, but it was worth every penny. And as my change came, I realized I wanted to add value to people's lives the way my trainer did. And I went and got certified and never looked back. And what got me into weight training is I realized that women, our strength is so closely related to how we feel about our bodies. And if we could feel better about our bodies and be stronger physically, that we would be stronger mentally as well.
Awesome. And you had or have even a female focused concept, the Bunny Barbell Club. Talk about how that came about.
So I went in the industry thinking that, this is male dominated and I'm going to have to compete and work with only men. And then I realized that I could draw in women. Once I figured out how to draw in women in the big box gym to lift weights, I then wanted to open a space where they could safely train without being mansplained about how to touch a barbell and how to do deadlifts. And Bunny Barbell Club still is open and operating. It's just under the umbrella of Golden State Barbell Club, which is our bigger facility that is co-ed. We do have competitors who compete regionally, nationally, and locally in competitions.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get to more information on the Bright app. I know you are raising money for that company now. You have taken it quite far in the last, 2 or so years. You started to allude to what the need was there. Fitness trainers are kind of working in an old school fashion. Take us into the app. What does it do? Who is it for? Who do you serve?
So the Bright app is first and foremost a back office tool for personal trainers. We give them lead generation, sales, automation and billing and scheduling, the things that trainers need to pay their rent. Trainers make more money when they get paid by the hour is why they all work at big box gyms. But big box gyms take 80% of their sales. But because they provide so much support, they stay. And so the Bright app was created to give them another option for that livelihood. We don't take 80% from these trainers, and these trainers are able to work from home. Now, for clients, the Bright app is something else entirely. The Bright app for clients is a truly convenient way to experience one-on-one private training in the convenience of their own home. So now if you don't feel comfortable sweating or losing weight in front of a bunch of men or women gawking at you at a gym, you can actually do this at home and get the same results.
And so timely.
And a lower price.
Yeah. And so timely with COVID. I mean, I mean, like you definitely had the forethought here and came at the right time.
Contrarian again, right? Because we were 6 months before the pandemic, and the pandemic just had my thesis come to life. I said trainers needed another option. Now they needed another option because all of them lost work at the exact same time, and they lost income significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. Talk about some of the metrics in the business. How many folks have you helped? How many sessions have you done? I'm sure you have all that at your fingertips because you've been pitching.
Yes. So right now we have about 7,000 users on our platform. 2,500 of them are personal trainers worldwide. We are partnering with big corporations, and we are entering into their employee portals around the world as well.
Awesome. Sounds like a great way to go. Any stories that you can share, Nerissa, around, I'm sure you've changed lives, especially of some of these personal trainers. Are there any stories that stand out that can illustrate how this has supported some of the folks some of those 2,500 people?
Yes, we have trainers who So the average medium for a trainer in the United States is 42,000, and this is pre-pandemic. Imagine during the pandemic when they all lost their job, it's significantly less, right? But we have trainers who've earned 60K or more than they've earned before the pandemic and after, right? So they're earning a significant amount of money working from home, doing exactly what they love to do, doing exactly what they were doing at a physical gym. That's life-changing, because not only are they able to grow and retain their customers and at the palm of their hands, but they can train with clients all over the world. So they're not limited to the people in the neighborhood. And same with the clients. We have clients who try to lose weight for 5 years, get a trainer on our app, and they lose weight in 3 weeks, weight that they thought was impossible to lose. So that's powerful. And that's what technology can do. It can truly make things, life-changing in an instant at the palm of your hands.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you recently, lucky for us, moved from the Bay Area down to San Diego. Are you and your family enjoying it so far?
We absolutely love it. So our 2 oldest sons play competitive soccer, and they want to be here for the soccer community because it's bigger here than the Bay Area. And then it's so much more space than San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are glad you moved down south with us here. Talk a bit about your fundraising adventure, anything you're able to disclose. I asked the question because so many women, female entrepreneurs who are raising angel or VC rounds, find it to be challenging. How have your fundraising adventures been?
Oh, that's a fun one. It is very, very challenging. I mean, the statistics about women and women of color raising funds is no joke, and it's no lie. It's even more for me troublesome that women who say they invest in women don't really invest in women unless the woman is doing a female-centered business, where it's like in the field I am is very male dominated, and you get a lot of people who just think you just can't compete with men. And I thought, this is the whole thing about being a woman, is that we can do anything men can do. We definitely can, and we definitely will. So I do find fundraising to be challenging. It can be dehumanizing at times, but it's still worth it, because all it takes is one believer. You get 2, you get 3, and it changes things drastically.
Awesome. What advice would you give, Nerissa, to someone who's listening to this, man or woman, who is thinking that they may want to go out for funding for their business?
Make friends with people with money now. If you know anyone who you think have money, get in their connections, start talking about your ideas, understand your market, understand your users on both sides. If you're a 2-sided marketplace like we are, make sure you can speak on your product in 30 seconds or less, and in fundraising gets easier.
Awesome. Yeah. And that was my next question. Any tips on, pitching, so to speak, whether it's formally or informally? You talked about the 30-second piece, which is really critically important. Any other pitching tips that you have?
Know your business. A lot of people pitch, but they're unsure of what they're selling or what they're creating or what they're building. Know it like the back of your hand, and just know that pitching will never be perfect. There are some days your pitch is so good and some it's not. And it also depends on who you talk to and their reaction, but just keep going. You just got to keep going.
Yeah. Have you found it a bit easier to pitch? And let's going back to this COVID conversation, because I've been in San Diego a long time, been involved in some of the startup scene here. And the prior wisdom was always, well, you got to go to the Bay Area. You gotta go hang out up there, go to the coffee shops, set up meetings, all of that. Has that changed for you throughout COVID? Is it easier to access some of these people with, a Zoom meeting, for example?
The access is easier. The relationship building is harder because it's all over Zoom, and you're asking for millions of dollars on a video call. And then you have to have multiple video calls versus like shaking the person's hand and agreeing that we are all on the same page. We're all going to take this, to IPO or a unicorn, that you can do in person. Right. And so COVID has made pitching harder, especially for women and people of color, because it's like, how do you build trust over a video call, right? But it has made access to investors easier because they're more likely to respond to emails because they too are looking for deals. So you have to keep that in mind, but just know that I do think a lot of the funding still comes from the Bay Area. I don't think that, in my experience, that San Diego is big on funding tech companies as much as they are on biotech companies, which are not quite the same.
Yeah, very different, actually. Very different cycle.
Different.
Yeah. Exactly. Return on investment takes a lot longer. Yeah, we're all trying to change that here in San Diego, and you included in that. I thank you for your leadership and some of the events that you've been running, and we really, really appreciate it. Nerissa, last question I have before we talk about some of the what's next, the future team building. This is a challenge for a lot of startup entrepreneurs, building a good team. Any tips that you have or, experiences you can share in building out your team? I know you have Rosie, who is incredible, and thank you for having her come over and help us at the National Association of Women Business Owners. But just any tips on team building?
You know what? I truly believe in giving everyone a try. I truly believe in when you realize that they're not a good fit and just, firing them right away. Because it's hard to build a team. I do think that team building is in pieces. Like there's some people that's good for your team for 6 months, but not the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. It's difficult when you're doing a startup because startups are hard, and you need a certain type of I don't know how to say this, but personality. And I do think that team building takes time. It takes time. And my biggest tip is, and be okay with it taking time and not trying to rush it. I do think some teams rush their teams too quickly, and they give their teams too much to do too fast, and then they fail fast. The same. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. We always hear that phrase, hire slow, fire fast.
Yep. It's so true. It's you got to give people a chance, and you got to be clear with what your needs are, so that they can understand what it's like to be on your team. Because people are only going to be on teams of people that they respect, and that they see that there's growth there.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So let's talk about the future. I know, I think have you closed around your most recent round, or are you still working on that right now?
Right now, we are still working on that.
Okay.
But we look to do that very soon. We're super excited and pumped.
Awesome. Great. So continue talking about that. What does, the next 6 months or so look like for the company?
A lot of relationship building, especially with corporations, and learning more about their needs and their perks and health and wellness that they offer to their employees. Also, getting closer to our users. I think it's really, really important for all startups to really know your users, the users who love you, the users who don't love you, and the users who are on the fence. That way you can build a better product for them, ultimately. And so the next 6 months is a lot of that. How do we iterate on this product? How do we make it better? How do we make it faster? How do we make it more convenient?
Yeah. How do you get close to your users when, you hopefully have the app on their home screen in their pocket, but how do you actually go about reaching out to those folks and getting closer?
Surveys. I think everyone should use surveys. They help so much. People are more likely to respond to them, especially people who don't like you. They will respond to them. And so that's the best part of that, is then you can address what their needs are and see if you can fix it or you can't fix it, right? Because you don't want to be that company who never responds to any inquiry, good or bad. And so we do surveys. We try to do happy hours, virtual happy hours, and Q&A, where we get to sit and talk about what we're doing with our product, what we're trying to do with our product. And we try to do that with every user that we can get a hold of.
Awesome. Love it. Wonderful. Well, Nerissa, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can find me on my LinkedIn at Nerissa Zhang or www.getbright.app.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Felina. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.